What's shaking, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna do part 2 of series I have DNF'd. So I have about 30 more series to share with you guys, so we will go ahead and just get started. The first one I have is going to be a very beloved series here on BookTube, and this is going to be The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is kind of a supernatural mystery, historical mystery series that follows our main character Evie, and it has like this found family trope, which I really liked. I really liked the characters. The books were so long and I just didn't buy into the mysteries that much. And so sadly, I did read the first 3 books. I did like the 3rd book the best, but decided after hearing some mixed reviews not to continue on with book number 4. Next, we have The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansen. I read the first book of this and just absolutely positively just didn't like it. And so what I did was I knew I was not going to continue on, so I went ahead and spoiled myself for the rest of the series, and I knew that this was a very good decision after reading those spoilers. And of course, we have the Witcher series by Septowski. So this was all the buzz, and it's been all the buzz here on BookTube, and I have not watched the show yet. I do want to watch the Netflix show, but I sadly did DNF this. Now, I loved the 2 short story collections, so I have kept them in my library, but I think I read 2 of the full-length novels. I may have read 3. I think I made 2 or 3, and I just felt like not connected to the story at all, and I just didn't understand the hype. But I really love the short story collections, which is weird for me. But so I decided to go ahead and DNF it since I was not enjoying it. The Witchland series by Susan Dennard. This is one that I have recently decided to DNF. I read Truth Witch many years ago, and I did like it, but I never continued on with the series, and then the last book came out, and I've heard such terrible things about the last book. It just sealed the fate of the series as a whole to me, and I decided to go ahead and not reread and continue on. Impossible Times series by Mark Lawrence. This is kind of like a short story sci-fi collection of his that you can get over there on Amazon. It was fine, but it had some tropes in it that I'm not a very big fan of, so I ultimately decided not to continue on. A series that was very popular in BookTube, and it still has such a huge fan backing, and I don't understand it one bit, and that's going to be the All for the Game series, and it's a self-published series, and I don't remember who it's by. I will leave it. Nina somebody maybe. I'll leave it on the screen. But listen, there are hardcore fans for this, and I understand like everything has to have fans, but this was just not it. This was just, I can't say much more about it. I probably will get hate mail for this, but it was literally one of the worst things I've ever read. The War That Saved My Life, and I can't remember who this is by. Forgive me, I will place a picture here. But I read the first one because it spoke to me, because the main character in this has clubfoot, and that's what this is basically surrounding, is there in war times, and her mother basically treats her like a lesser human being because she has this clubfoot and she can't do things like normal other people would, because she has this kind of disability because she never got her clubfoot fixed. And it was so empowering to me, and it was personal to me because I have clubfoot. So anytime I hear of books about folks that have clubfoot or anything of that nature, I read it. However, historical is not really my thing, and this is historical middle grade, and I really loved the first one. I think it was a complete story arc, and I don't plan on continuing on. A Song of Race and Ruins by Roseanne Brown. I read this when it first came out, and I honestly cannot remember anything about it, and now that the second book has come out, I have not heard the best reviews, so I've decided to let that one go. And of course, one of my more controversial picks here on the channel, my most controversial DNF probably is going to be the book of The Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. So this is the second series by Mark Lawrence that I have DNF. Maybe he's not for me. I don't know. But I DNF'd this one because I thought the first and the second one were okay. They were 3-star reads. And then when I picked up the third one and the way that it was told, and if you've read it, you know, it was not for me. I was confused. I just didn't like the way that was told, and since I only thought the other ones were 3 stars, I just decided to let it go. Skyhunter series by Marie Lu. I read this one when it first came out, and the second one just came out, but I would generally have to reread the first one, and I think I only gave it 3 stars. Like, it wasn't like a standout for me, and I really just don't wish to reread the first one, so... And another very popular fantasy series that I have DNF'd, and that's going to be the Winter Night Trilogy by Katherine Arden. And I read the first 2 books in the series, which was Bear and the Nightingale and Tower... I can't remember. I read the first 2 books, and I thought it was fine. This comes back to what I really found that I don't like are books that are rooted in folklore. So I've noticed I don't tend to like those books, so now I know to stay away from them, and this is the reason why this one, it is very slow, it is very atmospheric, it's folklore-y, but I just can't. Rook and Rose series by M.A. Carey, and this one starts with the I can't remember what I put the first book here. I'm so terrible at this. So I read this one and I gave it 2 stars. I really just felt that this was unnecessarily long. It was too descriptive. It didn't hold my interest. The plot was not bad, but when you have 200 pages worth of plot in a 600-page novel, it does not get good results from me. The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris. I really do like this series, but because I am not a middle grader, I won't continue on, but I thought it was really cute, and I'm going to save it for my daughter. A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is also a middle grade, and I've just realized that some middle grades just aren't for me, and this is one of those. It was super cute, though. I will also be saving this for my daughter. Bum, bum, bum. One of the also controversial decisions of 2021 that I had was that I did not like Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I've heard nobody else say that they did not like this book, but it was me. I am me. I disliked it. So I decided not to continue on. It was fine, but I gave it 3 stars. And so I have learned about myself that if I give something 3 stars, I just need to not continue on, because I know that the rest is probably going to be 3 stars. And then I'm going to wish I would have read something else. The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. So this is a historical mystery, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde retelling. And isn't it Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? I can't remember. Y'all, my memory. So I read the first one. I liked it. It was fine. I just know that these kind of books are just not for me. Ash Lords by Scott Ratkin. I did really like this when I read it. It was 3.5 stars. But at this point in time, it's been so long since I've read it that I would have to reread it, and I just don't think I'll be doing that. The Empress of Salt and Fortune. This is a novella that I read back in December, and while it was fine, I just don't feel any need to continue on. I don't have any attachment to these characters. Year One by Nora Roberts. I was so hyped about this book, and this, is a pandemic book, which that part, it did not bother me, but I overall just found the book lacking something for my personal taste, and then I decided not to continue on, and then I spoiled myself for the rest of the series, and I'm slightly glad that I also did not continue on after reading that. Number 1, Ladies Detective Agency. I really liked the first one I read, but again, it's a really, really long historical kind of mystery detective type book, and while I enjoyed the first one, I just don't see myself reading that long of a series, but I do recommend it for people that do like that kind of thing, because that main character was super sassy and I loved it. Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Young. I have talked about this before on my channel because I read it not that long ago, and I just found no pleasure in reading a book that was 60% of a young girl preparing to lose her virginity to an older man. And so I get the overall purpose of the story. It just was not told in a way that I jived with. So I'm not continuing on. And sadly, I have decided to go ahead and DNF the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I read this not that long ago. I did not really enjoy it. This is a book where it has multiple POVs, and one of these POVs I did not like, and so it was 3 stars for me, and I just don't feel the need to continue on. And honestly, I forgot most of the things that happened in this book, so I'd have to probably reread to continue on anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and put this to bed. Girls with Sharp Sticks. So I really liked this first book. I gave it 4 stars. I liked the whole plot of the book. I liked the characters of the book. The second book in the series and the third book in the series, I've heard very mixed reviews about, that the plot really takes just a dive. And so I have decided to not continue on. My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I actively hated this book, and for those that loved it, I understand completely. It just was not for me. It had nothing to do with the writing. It had nothing to do with that. I just didn't like the plot of the book. I didn't like the what happened in the end. I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And then there's a sequel that is going to come out later this year, and I will not be reading it. Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. This is going to be a middle grade book, and this is also a beloved book. I thought it was fine. Again, if I was that age, I probably would have loved it more, but there are some other novels that some are companions. Some of the characters show back up in them, but I'm not going to reread that. Practical Magic, which is another series that I just didn't care for. I don't understand the hype of it. I've talked about this before on my channel. I've never seen the movie. I know, I'm a terrible person. I've never seen the movie, but I just don't feel led to read this. I really didn't like the first book. So, Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. So, I did like Carry On, but I've heard so many terrible things about the rest of this series that she put out many years later, that I just don't feel like I need to. I feel like the first one, again, was a complete story. For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. I think that's her name. I read this when it first came out. Was super hyped about it. It just wasn't my type of thing. It was definitely a fantasy romance, and I just didn't like the plot. I didn't like the storytelling. But this is super popular. The second book is about to come out, and I am happy for those that love that series. Another one that I don't think I talked about, and the last one that I will talk about, is going to be The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. So this got a ton of buzz when it came out. I was so super hyped to read it. Everybody I know was like, I love it, I love it. I was disappointed. This was super long. I didn't think that the pacing was done well. I did not think that the plot was all that exciting. So I will not be continuing on. The cover to the second one that's coming out soon is super gorgeous, and so I'm jealous for everybody else that loved it and is going to continue on, but it was not for me. Alright guys, that is all the series I have DNF'd so far. Spoiler alert, there will be many more because I already know another series that I'm gonna DNF, but I'm not gonna announce it quite yet. So I hope you guys are doing well and your reading is going well, and I will catch you guys next time.